today we are checking all homework answers from page 21 and 23. So people just had a couple minutes to go through and first check page 21, which was 8.2, the first day of homework we had on Friday. So now that we had a chance to grade our answers, what questions do we have? Which ones do we want to look at? Number 8. So number 8 said 2x y to the 10th raised to the 3/5. The directions for this were to rewrite the expression in radical notation. What is the root and what is the power? So start here. So it's 5th root of 2xy to the 10th raised to the 3rd power. And that's it. That's it for number 8. Yes. Yes. So the other way of writing this, what she's saying is she did this. Either of those is correct. So here's that example of the power being on the inside. Here is power on the outside. And again, the directions for 8 were rewrite with radical notation. Any others from page 21? 16? Numbers 9 through 24, it's straight up the properties. Let's talk 14. 14 said to evaluate the 3rd root of negative 216. What's the answer for this? Negative 6. Because negative 6 to the 3rd is odd, right? So if I multiply 3 negative 6's together, negative 6 times negative 6 gets me a positive 36, times one more negative 6 gets me the negative 216. But why is number 17 is no solution? Because, let's say, what did you maybe say the answer is? What did you want to say the answer is if it was no solution? Negative 3? So let's see. That would mean negative 3 to the 4th. That's how many negative 3's? Let's see. I'm going to write out 4 of them. What is negative 3 times negative 3? 9. And negative 3 times negative 3? What's 9 times 9? Positive. So this will never be true. We will never get a negative value from a negative raised to an even power. Yes, question?
Can you go back to the the 23. How did you get that?
Number 23? Let's talk about it. So that's a good one to talk about because we'll see what the difference is. 23 said negative 16 to the 1/4, no parentheses. So that means that really it's negative 1 times 16 to the 1/4. That negative is not grouped into the root. It's the same thing as saying negative 4th root of 16, where the negative is on the outside. What is the 4th root of 16? 2. So negative 2 is my answer. All right, let's move on to page 23. So this was 8.2, day 2. Homework check. We're going to go question by question. Number 1, a to the 5/6 b to the 2/3. Number 2, what'd you get for number 2? 1 divided by y to the 1/2. So correct, as we're going through, if something is right, mark it right. If it needs some adjusting, let's see if we can figure it out. Oh, sorry, is this 17, 18, 19? Sorry about that. 17, 18, we'll talk, let's go through first. Number 19, what'd you get? 16x, good. 20. 5x to the 3rd, y squared. 21. 3x. 22. 2x plus 7. Good job. 23. 7 to the 5/3. 24. Y to the 1/2 divided by x to the 1/5. 25. Who's got 25? Negative 6 times x minus 5. Good. 26. Oh, that was 25. This is 26. What's 26? Good. X to the 1/8. 27. X to the 1/6. So make a note of which ones we want to talk about, and we will. 28. 14. X to the 4th. Y squared. 29. Make a note of which ones we like to talk about. 29. 1 divided by w to the 1/5. 30. Who's got 30? X to the 16th. Y to the 8th. 31. X plus 6. And 32. 8x to the 5th. Y. This will be on Google Classroom. If right now you want to take a picture of the smartboard so you have a digital key that you can work against, go ahead and do that, because we're about to see what questions you have. I'll give you a second, and then we'll talk about questions. What would you like to go over first? For those of us that did the work, which is the first one you'd like to work on? 22. Let's look at 22 first. So for those of us who, for whatever reason, did not have a chance to do this on time, pay close attention to the ones we're going over. It will help you on today's quiz. 22 says the 5th root of 2x plus 7 raised to the 5th. Our very first step, we never work with radical notation. See, this is a radical. We don't want that. We want to turn radical notation into a rational exponent. So whatever is on the inside, write it down again. Leave it alone. This is all raised to what power? The 5th. Very good. Because taking a 5th root is associated with 1/5. Power of a power, what do? We add or we multiply? Power of a power, we multiply. What is 1/5 times 5? 1. So So that just leaves 2x plus 7, and I'm done. So that was 22. Make this a little neater. What was next? 24? 24 says x to the negative 3/5, y to the 1/4, all raised to the 1/3. Our properties don't change. This is power of a product. What do we do with that power on the outside? Send it in, distribute it in. In the video, for the notes, I talked about how you can give your brain an in-between step and actually write it out first. Did I actually do any multiplying yet? No. To multiply fractions, do I need a common denominator? To multiply fractions, do I need a common denominator? No. Just multiply across. So negative 3 times 1? Negative 3. 5 times 3? 15. Here, y to the 1/12. Is this done? What cannot stay? This term with the negative exponent cannot stay. So y to the 1/12 will stay in the denominator. How does 3/15 reduce? 1/5. Good. Did I write it wrong over here? 24. 1/2, 1/5. Oh, 1/12. Got you. Okay, sorry about that. 1/12. Typo. Awesome. 25? So 25 says third root of negative 216 times x minus 5 to the third. What's my first step? We don't want a radical. We want rational exponent notation. So what's underneath? Write it down again. Whatever's underneath, write it down again. The third root is associated with what fractional exponent? 1/3. So we raise this to the 1/3. Now what do I do with that power? Send it in. How many places are there to send that in? 2. So I have negative 216 to the 1/3, and then x minus 5 to the third raised to the 1/3. Exactly. Well, first, what is negative 216 to the 1/3? Negative 6. And then what happens with 3 times 1/3? Cancels out, because what is 3 times 1/3? 1. So what's left behind? And that's as far as I can go, unless you chose to distribute in 1/6, which is, if you chose to distribute in the negative 6, you would get negative 6x plus 30. Yes? Question? Yes, you can use your chart to evaluate. So she's asking in terms of how we got negative 216 to the 1/3. Look at your chart. Go to the x to the third column, and what number are you looking for? 216. Find 216 and look left. So, but if we're not a particular test or not. On a quiz or test, you can use the chart. All right, that was 25. What else? Any questions on 26 or 27? No questions, 26 or 27? So for 26, work from the inside. Working from the inside, how would I write this with a fractional exponent? X to the 1/4, all raised to the 1/2. Because that's a square root. So now what do you do with those powers? multiply, and get 1 times 1 is 1, 4 times 2 is 8. But it's 1 times 1, not 1 plus 1. 27, what's different about 27? Right. So square root of x, I would write how? X to the 1/2 divided by? Okay, now what? I do subtract. What am I going to subtract? Subtract the powers. So 1/2 minus 1/3. I'm going to do this off to the side. Do I have common denominators? No. So what's my least common denominator here? The smallest number 2 and 3 go into 6. So how do I get 2 to be a 6? 3 divided by 3. And how do you get 3? Yep. Okay. It is. What is 3 divided by 3? He's saying it has to be the same. What is 3 divided by 3? 1. So technically you're just multiplying by 1. So this becomes 3/6. So another example, watch. 3/6. How does 3/6 reduce? 1/2. And then here this is 2/6. 1 times 2 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Do I now have my common denominator? Yes. Is this a positive exponent or a negative exponent? Positive, so my answer is x to the 1/6. If that had come out to be a negative 1/6, where would I have put that term? In the denominator. Very good. And what would have been in the numerator as a placeholder? Yes. Great. Yes. So when do I know how to add or when do I know how to subtract? Back to our properties from the first section. When we're dividing, what do we always do with the powers? Subtract. When we are multiplying, we add. When it's power of a power, we multiply. So those properties have not changed since 9th grade. Okay? Good question. 17? Yes, I will do 17. Any others from 28 to 32? 29 w to the 1/5 times w to the 2/5 divided by w to the 4/5. What are we going to do first? Multiplying, what do you do with the powers? Add. It's going to be 3/5 because I have a common denominator. And now what do I do? And I get, subtract and get w to the negative 1/5. Oops.
Yeah, so you put a 1 on top of the placeholder and then put it in the denominator.
30. 30 is going to be the last one before the quiz. I will come back to 17 after. 5th root of x to the 4th y squared all to the 20th. What are we going to do first? Rewrite the inside. So I've got x to the 4th y squared all raised to what power? 1/5 all raised to the 20th. That 20 is still a 20. So now what do we do with the powers? Power of a power we multiply. What is 20 times 1/5? Try again. 20 divided by 5, which is 4. And to wrap this up, what do I do with that power? Send it in. So this becomes x to the 16th, y to the 8th. Those have different bases. That's as far as I can go. I multiply. So when I did this off to the side, that's 20 divided by 5, which is 4. I multiply. Hold on.
But that's what 1 says, so it's not always.
Sorry, I scrolled wrong. Let me show you. 1/5 times 20 is what I did. 1/5 times 20 becomes 20 divided by 5, which becomes 4. Right? Okay, let's clear our desks. The only thing you're allowed to have out is your chart. And I'm going to pause the video here. I will do number 17 after so that it is on Google Classroom for your use. So the quiz just ended, and I did promise to go over number 17 after the quiz was over so that you have it on Google Classroom if you struggled with number 17. And again, this is number 17 on the day 2 homework, which was on page, oops, hold on. '23. So this is page 23 of our workbook. 8.2 day 2 homework. So we're going over this one to wrap up the review. So 17 said 6th root of AB squared times the 3rd root of A squared B. We never work with radical notation. Our first step is always to rewrite with rational exponent notation. So whatever's on the inside, I write down again, AB squared. And then I ask myself, 6th root is associated with what fractional exponent? With 1/6. 6th root, 1/6. And then over here, A squared B, the 3rd root is associated with 1/3. It's now time to use power of a product and distribute in the power. So this becomes A to the 1/6 times B to the 2/6 times A to the 2/3 B to the 1/3. So I want to get my A's together. Off to the side, I will work on 1/6 plus 2/3. To get that common denominator, I'm going to multiply by 2 divided by 2. That becomes 1/6 plus 4/6, which is 5/6. So I have A to the 5/6. Now we want to work on B to the 2/6 times B to the 1/3. So that will be 2/6 plus 1/3. But before I go try to get common denominators, I notice that 2/6 reduces to 1/3. 1/3 plus 1/3 is 2/3. So B to the 2/3, and we are all done. So that wraps up our review of day 1 and 2 homework. After the quiz, we talked about what the plan was for homework. Everyone should have had 1 row and 1 column done for tic-tac-toe. If you didn't, you need to catch up and get that done for tomorrow. If you already did 1 row and 1 column, I passed out or offered extra worksheets so you could do a 2nd row and column for extra credit. Tomorrow, the type 3 is what we're working on. So please start the type 3 tonight. So if you did your homework last night, it means you already have 1 row and 1 column done for tic-tac-toe. Tonight's homework is to start the type 3, and then if you would like to do extra credit, you can do another row and another column, which will be even more of an advantage for the game. Any questions, please send me a reminder. Have a great day.